Before we get started on this one, I want to say thank you to everyone who watched the Jaguar video. Never really expected it to go as well as it did. Don't know if you like the XKR or me in a tutu, and I'm not going to ask that question, but thank you all for watching and subscribing, liking the video. It did really well. Yeah, I'm a bit bowled over by it, to be honest. Thank you. This video is not going to be on the XKR, although we have been doing some work on it. In this one we're going to be back on the SD1. Now I've got a very specific goal, target, date in mind for the SD1. I've got a very busy year coming up and I need this car done. So today we're going to be working on the rear suspension. We're going to get the rear suspension stripped. I've got a full polybush kit to go in there. I'm going to hopefully splash a bit of paint round. I've got gas adjustable shock absorbers to fit, and we're going to also, if we get time, have a look at the rear disc conversion, see what needs to be doing, see what we need to be doing on that. So a fair bit of work. It's quite cold and damp. I'm going to get things dried off and opened up, let a bit of air get around it. We've got a very rare sunny day, but we have got things to do later, so yeah, we need to crack on. As always, if you like this video and you like the channel, please consider subscribing. It's really starting to grow now. Check out some of the previous videos and yeah, enjoy. I need to get going. The dog's absolutely livid that he can't be in today's video, so if you hear some barking, it's him. Before we get onto the SD1, a bit of bonus XKR footage. Now, if you watched the first video, and if you didn't, I'll leave a link for it. This bumper had a massive crease in it, all the way from about there, all the way up, and the edge of the bumper here was bent right out, like right out. Now, I didn't record this because I didn't actually think it was going to work, but I got the heat gun round it and gently heated it up and manipulated it all back into shape, and as you can see, it looks good. Now there is still some repair work to do. It has got a crack in it just there, which will need fixing, and obviously it's going to need some paint work because it is scuffed, but the grille fit's absolutely spot on. There's no really bad creases in it or anything like that. This bumper will be savable, which is good news because this shape bumper for this model is about £550, so I don't particularly fancy having to buy one. Aside from pumping the tyre up and sorting that bumper out, that's about where we're at with the XK. I have priced a load of parts up. I'm hoping to buy everything from one place, save bit and bobbing at it, but the headlight, weirdly enough, is proving the most difficult bit to find. But yeah, we'll get there with it. But little update on the XKR for you, just so you know we've not forgot it. Everyone seems to like it, and me too. So we will be cracking on with this very soon. I want this car done. Right, onto the SD1. First thing we need to do is get it jacked up, supported on axle stands. Now, there are usually jacking points under the rear bumpers that you can use the standard jack in. They're like a little square. I've removed mine for a cleaner look. So I usually jack under the diff. It's a safe place to jack. You know, it's not going anywhere. However, I need to support the car on axle stands because I'm going to be removing rear suspension components, so the axle stands will go under the body of the car, which will all become apparent when it gets jacked up. So jacked up on axle stands, and then we can have a look at what we're supposed to be doing today. Okay, so once it's supported on axle stands, you can lower the jack down to the point where you can actually see what you want to work on. In our case, that's the Watts linkage, trailing arms, etc. Accepted practice is to now cover everything in WD-40 and then go and get a cup of tea. So we'll have a bit of that. There's also 4 bolts at the front on the trailing arms, which I'll show you now. Just 2 of them are alright. 2 of them are quite difficult to get to without dropping the fuel tank. I really don't want to drop the fuel tank again, so we're going to see if we can get those out without. So the others that you need to get to are there and there. Now on this side it's not so bad, you've got the exhaust box in the way a little bit, but on the other side the fuel tank's in the way. Now this is a common rust area for SD1s, so if you're doing this job, have a look there when you're doing this, because the backs of the sills absolutely love to rust on these. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Try and make sure that you get as much WD-40 or other penetrating oil dripping into your eyes and arms as possible. That always helps. There, right, let's give that 10 minutes and then we'll come out and we'll get these arms removed. So we're going to remove the Watts linkage first. So to do this, there's 3 bolts in the middle. Well, in theory, you could just remove this one middle bolt. As far as I can see, they're all 17 mils. So we might undo just the 3 and then separate them from here once they're off the car. We've got all new bushers for these. So it should be fairly quick and easy for this. Just get it done. Gonna remember where everything goes, obviously. Next, we need to do the side. This one's a little harder as it's against the boot floor, and then the bolt also wants to hit the spring, so it takes a little bit of doing, but nothing we can't sort out. Can't use the gun on this one, so we have to do it the old-fashioned way. There we go. And then, as I say, the bolt is a little caught on that spring, so you just need to move the coil out of the way and we should be able to get it. And in theory, that's it. That is all that is holding your Watts linkage on. Okay, so next we're going to have a look at the trailing arms. We'll start with the easy one, which is the bolt that goes through the rear axle. Fairly easy, not in a big washer. Now these bushers don't look that bad. I've got new ones though, so we'll change them for now. So that's that one, and now we need to get the 2 out of the body, which I believe we're going to need to use the spanner for, so let's go and have a look at those. Right, hopefully you can see that these 2 17s have got to come out. You can probably see it better than I can, to be fair. Oh, they're tight. There's one. And that's 2. Then all we're going to do is just lower this down, and because we've taken the ball off the back, that'll come out. We'll split this in a minute. Let's get the other one off. And there you have it. That's the entire, pretty much the entire rear bushings off a Rover axle. Now there is one massive bush that bolts on the front of the torque tube that I have got a poly bush for, and I do want to replace. I noticed that there was actually a bolt missing from the actual mounting of it. However, that's pretty much all that's holding the axle in at the moment. So I want to keep that where it is. I'll get these parts cleaned up, rebushed and back on, and then I'll take that off. I don't want to be messing about with that too much. So the next job is to remove the brackets off the ends, remove the arms off the middle of the Watts linkage. Then we need to press all the bushers out. I've got, like I said, I've got all new poly bushers, so we'll get all those done, and then quick lick of paint and get them back together. Yeah, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but I'm actually going to be fitting gas adjustable shock absorbers today as well. Nothing wrong with the old ones, it's just that the fronts are uprated. I'll keep the old ones as spares. Might sell them on to someone if someone needs some, let me know. But yeah, we'll get those fitted as well today. Very easy job, to be fair. We'll just get that done now. So first job is to take the wheel off. On mine it's 19mm wheel bolts, so we'll get those off. Shock absorbers again, not bad, not a bad job. So one nut on the bottom. As you can see, this bush is completely dead. And then there's one on the top, which I'll show you in a minute. Needs a bit of trim removing to get to it. So we'll just tackle this bottom one. Hopefully it won't spin. There you go. That bush is completely dead. It goes through. It's not two separate bushes. It's one, and that's dead. So, right, so the other one is on the inside. So I've actually dropped the rear seat here to get to this. You need to take the rear boot carpet, the side piece over the arch out. It's held on by little pushing clips, so be careful not to rip those. And then you can get to the top nut of your shock absorber. There we go. And then in theory, we just compress this shock absorber a bit, like that. And out it comes. Now, these look actually pretty new. So I'll definitely keep hold of these. Or if someone needs a decent pair of rear shock absorbers, let me know. Washer from the top. We need to take the bushes out, prise them out of the axle, and then repeat the job on the other side, same as always. Now, one thing I do also need to do, don't know if you'll really be able to see, since I've lowered it, it's been hitting the bump stops a fair bit. Now, I really don't want that, so I'm going to shorten the bump stops. So to do that, I need to take the springs out, so we'll do that next. Now, these are just 10 mils, but I didn't bother WDing these because, if I'm honest, I forgot that I wanted to cut the bump stops down. I've only just noticed it, but I put these on not so long ago. That's why they're not that's why they're not copper greased. I really need to get better at that. It does make everything easier, as I mentioned. But this is literally just a U-shaped clamp that seats the spring on the bottom. So if we slacken that off, then pretty soon the bracket will come out, and then that means, especially if you're on a car with lowered springs like mine, that you can pretty much push the spring out like that. And that's the spring out. And then more than that, that's the top rubber and top bump stop out. You can see where that's been hitting. So I'm going to shorten these, and then we'll get that put back together. So, just the bushes to remove on this side, and that's this side done. And then we'll do the exact same on the other side, and then we can start cleaning things and thinking about putting it back together. Now, this is the bracket that holds the front of the rear axle onto the body of the car. It sits like that underneath the car, and that's right. If the front of the car's down that way. 2 bolts onto the actual axle and 1 bolt that goes through. However, to get this bolt out, you have to lower the fuel tank. I know I said I weren't going to do this today, kind of got carried away and did it anyway. I didn't record it because it's a pain supporting the fuel tank on your shoulder while you're under there, and you wouldn't have seen much anyway. So again, just a bunch of 17s. Once you've lowered the fuel tank, this main bolt just pulls straight out, and then these 2 nuts are off, and then it's a matter of lowering the axle. You let the prop shaft come down, this drops, and then you can just take it off. So again, I don't think this has ever been rebushed. It doesn't look it. It's got a fair bit of movement in it just by hand. I've got a new bush for this, so we'll do this and we'll give this a lick of paint at the same time as everything else. If we're doing it, I want to do it once and do it right. I'm not going to go to the lengths of painting all the suspension under the back and stuff. I'd like to, but I've got to draw a line between getting the car in a good condition and getting the car back on the road. I don't want it to turn into a long-term project. it's going to be off the road for months, so we want it good, we want it uprated, but we also want it usable. And if everything's too perfect, you're scared of using it, so let's get it nice and go from there. Right, we've got this set up in the press. This is one of the trailing arms. I shouldn't think it's going to take much force. I've just clamped it down a little. It should be almost there. There we go. There's the old bush out. Give that a clean up and we'll get the new one in. Next. There we go. The press makes light work of jobs like this. The only one that was a bit difficult was the main one in there. The metal sleeve on the outside of it. I had to use the air saw to cut up either edge. But yeah, all the old bushes pressed out. They can all go in bin. And these just need a lick of paint and we can get the new poly bushes in them. That's about it for this one. I hate leaving jobs half finished. I don't like stopping videos halfway through jobs, and that's what we've had to do today. But this time of year you're fighting daylight and I've got other things to do and I've got a list of excuses. Either way, the whole thing's stripped down. As you saw, all the bushes are pressed out of everything. So I need to splash some paint around and make them look a little bit better, put the new poly bushes in, and then the next video will be reassembly, getting the gas adjustables in, and getting it back down on floor. We're going to fire a bit of underseal around inner arches and things like that, just tidy it up. I might even do diff oil while I'm there, just so I know that the back end of the car is done. I have got a rear disc conversion for this car, and I did mention, I think, at the beginning of the video that we're going to have a look at it. I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to fit it. It does require quite a bit of engineering work, and I'm not sure it's work I necessarily want to get into at the moment. So I might sell that on. So if anyone's interested in a rear disc conversion for an SD1, get in touch. It uses Rover 800 rear calipers, so quite a good conversion. You just got to figure out the handbrake mechanism. But yeah, I think I might not put that on this car, having thought about it. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. As always, please consider liking and subscribing. It's helping the channel out. I'm not going to wear a tutu again, don't worry. And I think the next video will either be putting this back together and getting it on its wheels, or it might be something on the XKR, depending on how Christmas falls and a few other bits and bobs. But thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.